So this was a weird start to SmackDown because Cody Rhodes came to the ring and did his big catchphrase where he said, "What do you want to talk about?" When Paul Heyman and the Vision also arrived and Paul Heyman said, "Oh, well, what do we want to talk about?" Can you imagine how long this could have gone on? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? Yeah, what do you want to talk about? Would you shut up? Also, hello, my friends. Welcome to Ups and Downs, the only wrestling review show you need. If you're up for a bald guy who for some reason has his hood up today, pointing his finger around and giving the good bits an up and the bad bits a down. That's about it. I'm basically going to tell you what I thought about SmackDown and ensure you can keep up to date with all of the stories. So go and share it with your friends. Why the flop not? Let's up those downs. Randy Orton then teleported in to stand by Cody Rhodes because, of course, the numbers game was against him when Paul was like, I knew this was going to happen because I have been trying to get in touch with you all week, Randy Keith Orton. I've been text messaging you, I've been calling you, I've been emailing you, and you ignored me. I was a bit like, Paul, you better take the hint. He does not want to kiss you. But the whole point is, Paul Heyman knows deep down his tootsie toes that Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes can't be friends for a long old time because he knows what Randy Orton wants. Essentially, he was saying the World Championship is like the Lord of the Rings ring and it has possessive powers. And yes, this is what WWE has been teasing for around about the last 4,976 days. So it is nice that it's still in the ether, but I do think we're going to have to pull the trigger pretty fast. He also wanted to tell these two they are going to lose to Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker later on in the main event, which is a big match, because they are the future. Then essentially they left. Now, of course, Seth Rollins wasn't here, which essentially told you how that main event was going to end. But I suppose this was planting seeds, because if I were to hazard a guess, and I'm always wrong about this, so I'll probably be wrong again, we'll get out the other side of Crown Jewel, and Randy Orton will be like, I can't take it anymore. He'll turn on Cody Rhodes, and finally we can do that feud. And listen, SmackDown is an okay show. It's been better the last few weeks, but it needs something like this. It needs an injection of joy, and Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes would absolutely be it. I would also say this was more to remind you that we do have this big main event tag team match coming up, but also, yes, to go, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, keep your eye on Randy. But I will give it an up. Like, I thought the best thing about it was they kept it short, and that's totally okay. Not every single opening promo needs to go on for 500 years. It was totally fine. The Miz then yelled at Carmelo Hayes for not breaking up the pin last week. And Melo was like, well, you should have kicked out, which made me laugh. When Carmelo made it very clear, I don't want to be friends with you anymore, and we're done. He then tried to answer Sami Zayn's open challenge for the second time, and of course the Miz stuck it behind him and gave him the Skull Crusher finale on the floor. So one, Melo may be dead, and two, we can finally do that feud. Carmelo Hayes should win. As far as I'm concerned, he should hold that US title. Let's push him to the moon. Given that happened as well, Aleister Black must have been walked through the back and somebody ran in and said, oh my gosh, somebody attacked Carmelo Hayes. And he was like, well, I don't give a fluff about that, but I'd love that United States title. Do you know what, Sami Zayn? I'm going to take you on. And we did do that match, and surprise, surprise, it was very good. But the world as we know it will never be the same again. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. They were trading moonsaults as well because Black hit a springboard version in the ring. Then Sami Zayn hit one outside of the ring, which basically counts as a dive, so put a 1 on the dive counter. When they got back into the squared circle and Sam hit a Michinoku driver for a 1-2-ooh. He then went for the Blue Thunder Bomb. And listen, fair play to Aleister. He did wiggle jiggle out of this, which means he does watch the show. He probably tuned in for the last 2 weeks. Sam then missed the haluva kick, so Black came back with a meteorite off the top rope for a 1-2-ooh. And just when it looked like he was going to boot Sami Zayn right in the face, Damian Priest was just on the outside, and Aleister Black just froze like an iceberg because he could not believe that another sports entertainer was just outside on the floor. I mean, how could he possibly continue his work? He didn't know what to do when he got haluva kicked in the face. And yes, I mean, I can't even call it the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment anymore. But he got hit with the Blue Thunder Bomb, and Sami Zayn pinned him for the 1-2-3. So there's nothing else we can do. We have arrived. Like I say, hell has frozen over, but I am promoting the Blue Thunder Bomb from the least devastating move to a somewhat devastating move in all of sports entertainment. But at the same time, I'm sticking on my high horse here. We can't all of a sudden walk around calling it the most devastating just because it won 3 matches and then it beat AJ Styles around about 52 years ago. He's going to have to go on a long old slog with this, and I bet eventually it does go back. But we wait and see. But I am enjoying this a lot because the whole reason we take the mick out of the Blue Thunder Bomb is because it's a terrific move and more people should be losing to it. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do feel like I'm being trolled here. Like, I'm sure that's me being an arrogant Alan, but it is very strange. And Damian Priest was then like, I hate you, Aleister Black. So he threw him through Alan the announce table. Now, I had heard a rumour that they were going to do a big old street fight at Crown Jewel, which I was pumped for, but actually it's going to be a last man standing match on next week's SmackDown, which does make this feud very weird, but put in the main event, give them a bunch of time. They're very good wrestlers and they deserve the platform. Otherwise, I am going to give this an up. In many ways, Sami Zayn's US Open Challenge is the best thing on SmackDown, but I'm just happy that Damo and Priest got some TV time too. All of this did exactly what it was meant to do. Nick Aldis was then talking to Ruca and Zaria, so maybe they've been called up, because they have been on SmackDown the last few weeks. And they were just, I don't know, shooting the breeze. But in walked Chelsea Green's Secret Hervis, and we're like, oh, hi, we're trying to recruit, so we would like to recruit you. And Nick just went, nope, you're going to have a match instead. I was like, that's a very strange reaction to that question. Also, put a 1 on the WWE General Manager, didn't book an entire show. Counter, board, thingamajig, because imagine this hadn't have happened, there would have just been a gaping hole in the card. We went right into this as well, and I thought it was pretty good, and it was smart, because essentially everybody sat down and was like, listen, the main roster audience is aware of Chelsea Green and Alba Fyre, but maybe they don't watch NXT, so they don't know Ruca, they don't know Zaria, they got all their stuff in, and if you can believe it, they won, and they won with the Soul Snatcher. So clearly, somebody had got their wrestling tick box board in their hands, and they did smash every single one of these boxes, did the job. Chelsea was to blame here as well because she tagged herself in, which was a massive mistake, and Alba Fyre did a dive at one point to put a 1 on the counter. But Zaria essentially took care of Alba, and it was Chelsea Green who got hit with that move for the 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to give it an up now. We are sort of teasing that Ruca and Zaria could go after the Women's Tag Team Championships, which makes all the sense in the world, because Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss can go wherever they choose. And then, yes, we cut to Charlotte and Alexa. They're like, great, they've won one match. Maybe they are deserving of an opportunity. And then Alexa did Charlotte's woo. Imagine this happened in real life. You'd look at them and think to yourself, I'm not 100% sure I want to hang out with you. At least they didn't get these belts on TV though, because I do get worried about them. And actually their television time amount has drastically been cut recently, so let's change that. When we cut to Cody Rhodes, who essentially said, Randy Orton, I love you, and I would never do anything bad. And Rand was like, well, maybe I'd never do anything bad to you too. I mean, it wasn't that cut and dry, but we are back to the teasing. And as you know, Randy Orton cannot help but look at that WWE title. As already said, in October, we gotta get this done. It was then time for the contract signing between Tiffany, Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer, and my hand went up. I was like, wait a minute, this is a crown jewel match, and you told me every crown jewel, it's always gonna be champion versus champion, so why do they have to sign a special deal? Surely it's in their original deal, and it says if you are the champion going into this pay-per-view, you have to fight the other champion. Case closed. I am a nerd. Now Stephanie was aware that she's only recently won that title, whereas Tiffany's had her for ages, but she still knows she can bring the fight and may the best women win. This went Tiffany once again for the second week in a row was like, oh man, we're gonna fly around the world, and it doesn't matter whether it's in Cincinnati or whether it's in Perth, I'm still gonna beat you. I was like, no one cares about locations, Tiffany Stratton. Just say something badass and say something heel vibes. That's the issue with Tiffany Stratton. She's way better as a heel, and here she absolutely could have leaned into her heel persona, but somebody is telling her not to be a heel. I'm going to bring up the example I always do, and his name was The Rock. When he became good guy, he wasn't all of a sudden going, I love you all, and I want to hug your babies. He was the exact same character, but he just focused on bad people. That's what we should be doing with Tiff. Stratton then, of course, said no matter where they go, it's always going to be Tiffy time, which is actually somewhat of an intimidating thought, when they did shake hands and they signed the deal. I was like, there's no way it can end like this. And I was sort of right, because Kiana, James, and Julia walked out. They beat up Tiffany Stratton, and they said to Stephanie, you should be in our gang, and we can make you a super duper whooper champion. I was like, you are the worst agent slash manager slash whatever you're meant to be. Of these two people, Stephanie Vaquer has been the ultimate babyface since day one. You should have gone after Tiffany. Of course, Vaquer said no, and it looked like she was going to be beaten up before Tiffany Stratton did recover, and she made the saves. You know what we're going to do here. We shall do the tag team match next week, and the big question will be, can Stephanie and Tiffany coexist, or is one of them going to fall into the Phantom Zone? Now, I do get this is good for Julia because she's now eating at the top table, but I cannot get over the use of this Women's US Championship. If you want Julia to be the main Women's Champion, I have no problem with this, but then let everybody else on the card fight over the US title. There is a bunch of women not getting opportunities at the moment. That's the whole point of introducing a brand new trinket, and for some reason we're not doing it. Also, what happened to Meet You to BFAB? They just lost last week and thought, you know what, screw it, we give up. Let's just take what we are doing here, though, and compare it to Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. They are treating it like it's doom and gloom and the future of the industry, whereas Stephanie and Tiffany are just like, oh my gosh, we are going to have a wonderful fight. And then Julia, for some reason, beat the crap out of them. Now listen, Julia is brilliant, and every time she hits a move, it looks like death. but I have to give it a down. I just feel like we could be having so much more fun with this and being way more creative, though ultimately it's a down for the use of the women's title. Let me say my catchphrase so I can get it in every show. Just look at Raw and quite literally copy what you did with the IC version. We then get to throw another one on the whole the GM didn't book the show before the show counter, because Nick Aldis was talking to Siobhan Evans and Fenix when In Watch Lost Garza essentially said, "We think we're more flippy than you." Siobhan and Fenix was like, "Ha ha, nobody is more flippy than us." And Nick Aldis made the match. Now actually I was super happy about that, because that Siobhan Evans man, he should be on the main roster yesterday. Jacob Fatu then spent the last week cutting together a video as he told us he is going to use Drew McIntyre to get to the next level. And listen, I like this feud, I think it's going to be brilliant. But given how long Jacob had been off TV, I really think he should have cut this promo live in front of the people, because that is just a special source of wrestling and it makes it feel so exciting. However, at the same time, I'm going to hold fire, because if WWE does get this right, well, it should be pretty damn good. This is when we did get Siobhan Evans and Fenix taking on Los Garza, and all I'm going to tell you, my friends, is go and watch it. It is so much fun. They were flipping around the place like their lives depended on it. And if you sometimes just want to sit down and watch a wrestling show to be entertained, well, have I found the match for you? It honestly felt like Fenix and Evans were just trying to outflip each other. We really should call Siobhan up. Like, if you give him a bunch of wins and maybe even lead that to the US Championship, he would be over in no time. I mean, he's super duper young, which always works, but he is just one of a kind. Some of the springboard, or when he jumps off the top rope, he gets so damn high, I'm worried he's going to hit a satellite. You also got at least 3 dives during this to put a 3 on the dive counter, and the one that Siobhan Evans hit with this crazy camera angle, well, again, he just gets so much airtime, man. He cannot be human. He also got the hot tag and ran totally wild when Berto tried to get a cheaty pin. The referee was like, "No, man, we're not doing that." When essentially Siobhan got his OG cutter, and then it was Fenix, I think, who grabbed Berto, I can't remember now, for the Mexican muscle buster, that's what we call it. He hit it, and he pinned it for the 1-2-3. Now, this basically told that Siobhan is likely going back down to NXT, which is why Fenix got the win. Also, it's hilarious that every week Fenix turns up to TV and said, "I really would like to tag with somebody else, but you have to give this an up." I go back to what I just said. We watch this stupid wrestling stuff to have a good time. That was the best time I had all week. Up. Damian Priest was then talking in the back about Aleister Black when we did set up this last man standing match for next week. When Kit Wilson was in his wheelchair and started saying, "Oh my gosh, you are the problem, you toxic masculinity man." I kid you not, Damian pushed him back into his wheelchair and then threw him into a bunch of pipes. If you were tuned in at this point and you'd never watched wrestling before, it looked like Damian Priest had taken a disabled person and thrown them into, I don't know, the environment. Just out of context. It was so damn bad, and it made me laugh because I'm a terrible person. But I like this Kit Wilson character. It is so damn weird. And then, yes, Damian was like, "Whoa, Aleister Black, I'm going to beat you." He did not make that noise. Put a 1 on the crime counter, though. I don't think you're allowed to do that. As expected, Solo Sikoa also had done the video this week when he reintroduced Tala, I'm the tallest Tonga, and he said he's got one more dude to go, and it should be the return of Tama Tonga. Now, I am kind of fine with all of this, but I do not understand why we needed to reintroduce everyone to begin with. And I kind of feel like when Solo is back, he could then try and get that US title back on his shoulder, which would make all the sense in the world. But it's very, very strange. I mean, they probably did need to be off TV to kind of make them more interesting when they are back. This is another one where I'm just going to wait and see. I am just a little bit confused. But then again, I am stupid. The Street Profits then talked about their big tag team title match against the Wyatts next week when the Wyatts turned up and said things like, "We're going to rip out your guts and eat them with our potatoes," whatever they say. And I actually think the end game of this should be the Street Profits losing. We take Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford and send them off in separate singles directions to see what they can do as single stars. They've been a tag team for about 11 years. You may as well as give it a go. You could always reunite them, so that's what I would do. However, I am going to give it a down, because a few weeks ago we had all these amazing tag teams, the Motor City Machine Guns, there was DIY, there was Andrade and Fenix, and then that went bad. And all of a sudden, they've all kind of dropped off the face of the planet. It would just be cool if there were some sort of tag team matches going on beneath all of this, so we could build some #1 contenders, unless that is going to be Siobhan Evans and Fenix. And I tell you, I would not get mad about that. But my tum-tum does not think that's true. When we did get quite a massive main event, because it was Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes taking on Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. And at the start here, it was Randy versus Bron. Not 100% we've seen that before, and I tell you, could actually build that into an entire feud. Orton actually got the better of Bron Breakker here, and I'm sure he won't forget that when Bronson re-grabbed Randy and threw him into the announce table and right at the ring post. That's when they started to beat the crap out of him. Cody Rhodes then tagged in, and they beat the crap out of him too. And I did have a thought here when I was like, how do I feel about the Vision? And I kind of feel like the group has fallen off just a little bit, like I don't really understand the direction they're headed in. I do have this thing gnawing away in the back of my brain. Could we have actually gotten them over more as single stars? That's something for us to mull over. I don't know what null over means, but I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Cody was able to do a big dive before all of this to put a 1 on the counter, and of course he got the hot tag to Randy Orton, who just said, why don't I do all my signature moves? And during this, that Bron Breakker, he dove off the ring apron and he smashed Cody Rhodes through barricade. This goes back to what I just said. He's so damn explosive, I kind of feel like he could be doing this stuff by himself. It's actually really cool as well because Randy also hit this massive superplex onto Bronson Reed. When of course Paul Heyman went, oh referee, look at me, everybody should look at me. The stupid official did do that when, yes, of course, in ran Seth Rollins, he hit the curb stop onto Randy Orton. Here came Bronson Reed with the tsunami, 1, 2, 3. Now there is an upside to this. Randy Orton lost again, which means when he does go heel, he can be like, just can't handle it anymore because I just get defeated all of the time. But put a 1 on the dick board and put a down on it. It's like the Raw main event came to SmackDown. I'm just a bit bored of doing this every single time the Vision are in the ring. Even though, and I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here, it does make sense for Seth Rollins' group to do it. I suppose I just wanted a very clear winner and a very clear loser here. That's just how I felt when I woke up to watch the show. I swear we're also teasing that the Vision may actually break up, because as they were all leaving, Paul Heyman said to Seth Rollins, don't you go back, don't you do it, my boy. And Seth Rollins like, nope, I now have to curve stomp Cody Rhodes. Of course, Cody got out of the way, and he hit him with the crossroads. Well, there is a couple of things to this. The biggest of those as well is that I think Seth Rollins will win at Crown Jewel, and it's way more important for him than Cody Rhodes. And maybe it's even Randy Orton that does the heel turn there. Although why he wouldn't go after Seth Rollins, I don't know. Maybe he tries and it's a massive mistake. But yeah, given what happened on Raw with Cody going, I don't think you pull the shot, Seth Rollins, are we going to break up this group at this pace? And also, is that a totally bad idea? I'm not 100% sure. So maybe WWE is actually ahead of the curve. I am going to give the match overall an up though, and I do like that we are telling all of these stories, even though I may have misinterpreted them, all of them. But it did feel like a big deal, and look, at the end of the day, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed getting victories, especially over main event superstars, is only going to benefit them. It's classic wrestling booking. You can't get that mad at it. Up. Which brought us to the end of SmackDown, and yes, the show is way better than it was a month or so ago, which is my major takeaway, and I had a pretty good time, so I am going to give it an up, but let's make sure we call up Javon Evans and allow him to go crazy. Now, my friends, let me know what you thought about the show in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. My ups and downs for Monday Night Raw are on the card as well, on the screen, whatever the flub you want to call this box, the magic screen of joy. Otherwise, have a terrific weekend. See you soon.